Agenda item 1, public hearing on proposed ordinance 94 authorizing and setting a special parcel tax for fire protection emergency medical services and submitting a special parcel tax and question to establish the district's appropriation limit of qualified voters of the district. Chief, you want to do a presentation before we go into public hearing?
That is correct, and touch on just a few items for the board's clarification on a couple items that are in the draft ordinance. For the public's input that is sitting here in the audience, and for those that are going to be watching this on cable TV, this is the first public hearing on proposed ordinance 94, which is a proposal to increase the special fire tax to maintain adequate funding for our fire department operations. Talk about fire department funding operations. The vast majority of the fire department funding is provided by a voter-approved special tax. There are many times the community members will ask, why doesn't the water district provide funding for the fire department? And very simply, by law, water revenues such as your water rates that you pay, ready to serve, and the water availability assessment that property owners see on their property tax bill, by law, none of those items can be used for fire department operations. They can only be used for water operations. Additionally, this fire department does not receive any portion of the 1% general tax levy. And in essence, what occurred there was the fire department did not have a tax levy in place when Prop 13 was passed by the voters of California in 1978. And in essence, that has frozen us out of getting a portion of that 1% general property tax. Additionally, you do not see this fire department because it's part of a special district. The fire department does not receive anything in a portion in the way of sales tax or transient occupancy tax. When you look at cities and counties, they have the ability to put in place transient occupancy tax. They get a portion of the state sales tax, and they also have the ability to impose local sales tax. As a fire department in a special district, we don't have any of those options. We are very limited by what we can do, and what we're doing right now is operating off a voter-approved special tax. Our tax history. The original funding for the fire department started as what we referred to as a benefit assessment, and that started in 1985, and that per unit amount in 1985 was $33.85. By 1996, that had increased over the years to $57. The passage by the voters of California of Prop 218 forced us to change what we were doing. In essence, how we were doing that benefit assessment, and in essence what it was, each year the board would determine the dollar amount that was needed to fund the fire department. They would send notice out to the property owners, and if a certain amount of protest was not received, then the board had the ability to set that benefit assessment at the dollar amount they said they were going to set it at in the notice of hearing. Prop 218 pretty much took that ability away and said if you're going to do something, you will require voter approval by 2/3 of the voters. So we went to the voters in June of 1997 with Measure O, which proposed setting the first special tax at $54 per unit. It had no inflation adjuster. At the time, we estimated it would be adequate for 5 years and providing staffing at one fire station. The last couple of the years in 2002 and 2003, we had actually, to meet the demand for service, we're not only staffing one fire station, we went to staffing the Lear Avenue Fire Station. So we were staffing 2 fire stations, and that was in the 6th and 7th year of that tax, staying at $54. To continue staffing 2 fire stations, we went to the voters in March of 2005 with Measure J, which was $80 per unit. Once again, no inflation adjuster, and we said that this measure would be good for an estimated 8 years to provide 24-hour staffing at 2 fire stations. That is the tax that the district is currently operating under. And we are coming up on the 8th year, that being 2013. In essence, what we have done, because there is no inflation adjuster in that tax, and we see very little increase in the amount that we take in revenue each year, is, in essence, the years 2005 through approximately 2009, we were putting money into fund balance. Since 2009, we are now taking money out of fund balance. And we're hitting a critical point, and if need be at any time, Wayne can step in here and talk about the impact of needing a fund balance, an adequate fund balance. The critical element is when we start a fiscal year, we do not see any substantial revenues until late November, early December of the year. That means when we start a fiscal year, we need a fund balance that covers approximately 40 to 45% of our operating expenses for a fiscal year. Continuing on, proposed ordinance 94. What is being proposed and what this first public hearing is about is an ordinance that would increase the special tax from its current $80 to $120 per unit. In addition, it would carry a 4% annual inflation adjuster for 10 years. The effective date of this would be July 1st of 2013. It would maintain the current service that we provide, and that would be providing staffing at 2 fire stations, and what we're seeing in the growth of calls, especially in the city core around the downtown fire station. We anticipate by 2017 that we're going to have to add a second unit to respond out of that station, and what's being proposed as part of this is a 2-person patrol. This would continue to be a combination of career and volunteer staff, and this ordinance, if passed and then approved by the voters, would provide some long-term sustainability to the fire department. This is very small print, but this is, in essence, a spreadsheet showing what the costs are going, what the cost the fire department is going to incur out through starting in 2013 and going out to 2020, 2021. Main thing that we're going to incur, and that we've been incurring over the long term, is operating cost increases. The big one that we're facing is a need to continue to fund apparatus reserve, so that when it comes time to replace an apparatus, we have the money there, because this fire department operates with no debt. And at the bottom, what is critically shown is that we're putting money into fund balance enough to sustain it in such a way that we start each fiscal year with an appropriate fund balance to fund operations until tax revenues come in that November, December timeframe. The downside to this district not getting some type of increase in revenue to fund fire department operations is that by 2013, we would be forced to make a drastic reduction in the current service level. What that's going to lead to is inadequate response times to emergency calls, and the follow-on to that is, and probably the first people it's going to impact is going to be homeowners, is they are going to see increased insurance rates, or they may see some insurance companies actually not wanting to insure the property, and the insurance companies have been known to cancel insurance policies when service levels have been reduced in a fire district. The carry on to that, it would then start affecting commercial properties also. As an example of what can happen when a community doesn't have the appropriate fire protection or an adequate level of fire protection as judged by the insurance industry, we currently are an ISO Class 4 for anybody that resides within 5 miles of a fire station and has a hydrant within 1,000 feet of their home. If ISO, the insurance agency that determines insurance rates for communities, deems that we do not have adequate fire protection, and they increase it to a Class 9, we're looking at insurance rates increasing anywhere from $88 a year up to $478 a year. And these are actual figures that were obtained from a local insurance broker. As was stated, this is the first public hearing on this proposed ordinance. The next public hearing is going to be held on Thursday, December 8th at 6 p.m. at the Desert Heights Fire Station. That's 3834 Lear Avenue. The last public hearing on the proposed ordinance will be back here at the 29 Palms Water District on Wednesday, December 21st at 6 p.m. And the address here is 72401 Hatch Road. For Ordinance 94 to be implemented, it would first have to be approved by the Board of Directors. That would cause it to be placed on an election ballot determined by the board of sometime in the spring of 2012. It would require 2/3 voter approval. If the ordinance receives 2/3 voter approval at that time, the ordinance would then go into effect on July 1st of 2013.